Start.
Now we will have a few points about the introduction. These points were not shared previously. That is our aim. As much as possible in each class. Let us see how many classes are possible for sharing the introduction. Bhagavad Gita classes we are not decided, but introductory points also we are planning to share in every class few points about Bhagavad Gita. I was also listening to some of the Swamijis during the week. So I will tell each point, I will not refer to each Swamiji because it will not be correct. So I listen to Swami Chinmayananda, Swami Sarvapriyananda, and also great scholars like Swami Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi's opinion. This all will be shared a little bit. See, Bhagavad Gita teaching is a symbolic, so that it can be adopted in normal life also, and at the time of extreme conflicts also. Because why it is told some symbolic? The context of Bhagavad Gita Upadesha is when Arjuna had lot of confusion because of moha. So that is the extreme conflicting situation. But when we see so many slogas which we already discussed, routine, about the food, all these things, it is not the warfield to be taught. So from these things we understand it is a symbolic teaching. It can be adopted, means at any point of time, means after 5000 years also it is relevant. It will be relevant till the universe is there, and by normal people also, means what, normal situations also, not only conflicting situations. This is an important thing I want. Then second thing, see Bhagavad Gita's commentary by Mahatma Gandhi and Swami Vivekananda. See, Mahatma Gandhi took it for establishing dharma. Bhagavad Gita was told by Lord Krishna to Arjuna to remove the confusion and start fighting. But Mahatma Gandhi's fighting was non-violence. But still, for establishing dharma, he got inspiration from Bhagavad Gita. This is the point to be noted. So we have to strive hard and take efforts to establish dharma. Mahatma Gandhi took in a very large scale to establish the dharma to get liberation from foreigners. But in normal activities also, we can refer Bhagavad Gita for establishing dharma. Then Mahatma Gandhi also has told that whenever he got disappointment, he got solace, consolation from Bhagavad Gita. So that is another point to be noted. And Swami Vivekananda has told in a very nice way, that is, our Vedas are like forest, where so many things will be there. Means very tasty fruits, poisonous herbs, real poison, and various kinds of flowers and everything. So Swami Vivekananda has told that Bhagavan Lord Krishna made a bouquet out of various things which is available in the forest and presenting in the middle of Mahabharata. So that is the beautiful interpretation. It's a bouquet. So it's selected by Lord Krishna himself from the Vedas and presented to the mankind. These two things. And Bhagavad Gita has got one more distinction. It is the largest book of analysis and commented upon and discussed. That is what is happening now. Analysis and discussion. And it is the second largest with respect to translation. The largest being Bible. So this is another distinction. The largest commented and analyzed and discussed book is Bhagavad Gita. So these are some of the points of introduction. Then in the summary, what I decided, every class we are discussing more than 10 slogas now. sometimes 15 slokas also. So 1 or 2 slokas from each class you can try to recollect, so that you can connect the dots from each topic. Initially we are starting with the motivation, then how the Bhagavad Gita starts, then the benefits, and going back to the context, and preparation. Preparation I've started now. Just preparatory techniques and preparatory points are discussed in this class also, and for few more classes, I don't know, 1 or 2 classes, preparatory things will be there. Then we will discuss the actual teaching. So how to recollect means I have selected 1 or 2, 3 slokas from each class. First, class number 1, the important slokas are the first sloka, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveda Yudhisthavaha Mamaha Pandavaschaiva Kima Akurvada Sanjaya. That is the context. And the final sloka also I told, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanadha Tatra Srihi Dhruva Nidir Madhur Mama. Means the last word is Mama of the last sloka. And the first word of the first sloka is Dharma Kshetre. So one of the teacher has commented, the total Bhagavad Gita, when we want to understand, the last word of the last sloka, Mama, and the first word of the first sloka, Dharma. Mama Dharma. It indicates Mama Dharma. It's also a good point. You can have an idea. So that's a combination. So these are the 2 slokas from the first thing. Along with the other motivation slokas were there, how Arjuna got rid of the fear. The second class important slokas are the 7th sloka of 2nd chapter, Karpanya Dosho. That sloka is also very important sloka, the surrender of Arjuna to Lord Krishna as a student. Then the first teaching sloka, that is the 11th sloka of 2nd chapter. Ashoshyan Anvashoshastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase Gadasun Agadasun cha Nanashochanti Pandita. This sloka we started discussing, and at a point I told we will come back to this sloka after at least starting the preparatory techniques, because this is the teaching. So just teaching will not go into the mind, because mind has to be purified. So this sample teaching we discussed, then I told we will go to the preparatory techniques and come back to this sloka in the appropriate time. This sloka is also important. And one more sloka was there, that is my favorite sloka. Uddaret Atmanatmanam Atmanam Avsadayet Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhu Atmaiva Ripuratmana. That is the 5th sloka of 6th chapter. With one's mind only you have to improve, and people get ruins with their own mind. So here the drowning person has to come out of the river or lake with his body only. He has to save himself with himself only. So here we have to use our own mind. Mind means body mind sense complex, to cross this struggle of samsara. This is a very beautiful sloka, and also with meaning also. And in the 3rd class, some points were not discussed, so that I have noted down. So along with summarizing, we can discuss that also. That is the 16th chapter, 23rd verse. That is about the scriptures. Why we have to refer to scripture? Here one point I will tell which was not told. The unseen results of action. No book can give you, science cannot give you, logic cannot give you. Only scriptures tell about the unseen results of your actions. So that is a very important aspect of scriptures. Nothing else tells you about this. So this point is a very important point. And also some other slokas also we will go through the third class. That is, we should not stop the legitimate actions of other people, those who are not taking part in the pursuit of self-knowledge. Because, see, the self-knowledge is not easy for others. So, when they are having the dharmic life, there is no need for them to come to this life if they are not prepared. So, we cannot change the route of the rivers easily, either by constructing dam, or it will take decades and decades. Now they are planning, no, Ganga and Kaveri joining. Is it taking part? So like that, it may take some time. So those who are having dharmic activities, they can very well continue that. We should not compel them. This is one thing. And regarding the duties also, one or two points were missing. I did not tell you. So one person should not leave his or her duty and catch others' duty. Duty we discussed already, I don't want to repeat. Why a person should not catch others' duty means, if the person grabs others' duty, he has to stop his duty. So these examples are given. A nut bolt, and a piston talking to each other. Piston was moving in the machine, the bolt was only sitting tight. But if the bolt thinks that I am only sitting tight while piston is moving nicely, let me also move. If the bolt thinks, then what will happen to the total machine? A bolt and nut should be tight enough. It should not start moving like a piston. If it also thinks that piston is moving, I can also move it, the total machine will collapse. One more example was there, why one should not stop one's duty and catch other's duty. It's a football match. The goalkeeper's duty is what? To safeguard the goal post. If the goalkeeper thinks all my other team members are moving here and there with the ball, why I also cannot run behind the ball? Then what will happen? If he catches the ball, then ball will be put in his goal by the opponent player. So this is another example with respect to one's own duty. Then coming to this class, we have selected some slokas. How Ashtanga Yoga is discussed in Bhagavad Gita. What are the slokas? So we will listen to the slokas. As usual, my wife has recorded the two-line translation. Then we will discuss a few points of that sloka. Yeah, we will start with the first sloka. That is from the 4th chapter, 29th sloka about pranayama.
प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः.
Chapter 4, verse 29, Pranayama. So to others who are committed to the practice of pranayama, breath control, stopping the flow of inhalation and exhalation, offer the outgoing breath into the incoming breath and the incoming breath into the outgoing breath. That's the translation.
Now, what we learn pranayama here, there is some connection also. Here, when we learn pranayama, we tell to get involved with the breathing. So there is voluntary breathing and involuntary breathing. Normally we do involuntary breathing, but during pranayama we tell do voluntary breathing. So that's the point. That's also here. It is a voluntary breathing. So this will lead to bringing the mind to oneself. So bringing the mind to oneself is the journey, taking the U-turn from the normal life. So this is an important thing. And one more aspect is there. I will tell that also. This sloka is in the 4th chapter. among various things discussed about yajna, offerings. So this sloka comes in between those several slokas discussing about yajna. So here beautifully it is explained in this sloka. The incoming breathing is offered into outgoing breathing. It's a yajna. Then the outgoing breathing is offered to the incoming breathing. It's a beautiful interpretation, offering. So that is the point. And the benefit is mind control, tranquility and everything. Next sloka is about the asana. It is not yogasana, it is about asana. That is the sitting posture for the meditation. So that we will have the next sloka. That is from the 6th chapter.
Tamam kaya shirogrevam dharayannachalam sthiraha samprekshya nasikagram svam dishashchanavalokayan.
Chapter 6, verse 13. Holding oneself firm without moving, keeping the body, head and neck in one straight line, as though looking at the tip of one's nose for eye position and not looking in all direction. That's the translation.
Prashantatma vigata.
Now, during pranayama, this point is also to be noted. Along with breathing, it is a commentary by Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati. If you add one sloga, means what? If you recollect one sloga or Om while doing the pranayama, inhalation, exhalation, if we add a prayer, mental prayer, Gayatri Mantra or Om chanting, it will purify your mind. So this point also you can note along with the pranayama. Then coming to this next this thing, asana. I will complete, then we will go ahead. See, this asana is not yogasanas. So very important thing to note down here, because many people are crazy about yogasanas. Though Ashtanga Yoga is discussed to some extent in Bhagavad Gita, it is not about body posture for various benefits and everything. For flexibility and everything, you take asanas, yogasanas. For relieving some of the body problem, you adapt to yogasanas. Not on craziness. You need a better body for achieving something more. So if you are after the body postures, you will lose the benefit, higher benefits. So never be after the body postures. Including weight control can be achieved by pranayama, different kinds of pranayama. But one more caution is there: if you do more and more yogasanas, you will get body obsession and you will totally get deviated from the goal of life, that is self-knowledge. So here body posture is told for meditation. That is Sthira Sukha Asana. That is, the sitting place should be clean, little raised, so that the insects and everything will not come. Then solid asana with kushal grass and this thing, whatever the thing, mat and or. So there, and also the body should be straight. That is body, neck and head. That is mentioned in this sloka. These three body parts should be in a straight line. And another thing also told about the legs and hands, like we tell in the breath watching meditation. Exactly same thing now. Breath watching meditation is only first pranayama like breath watching, then sitting posture, then meditation. So here, taking a comfortable posture that you need not change. Not that you should not change. You need not change your hands and legs. Take the posture initially and keep that is extra thing. Keep the body, neck and head in a straight line for this meditation. That meditation discussed in the next two slokas with an example also. We will either cover both the slokas or one after another, that doesn't matter. We'll see.
Abhi brahmachari vrate sthitaha manas samyamya macchittaha yukta aseta matparaha. यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः.
Chapter 6, verse 19. A lamp protected from the wind does not tremble. This illustration is cited for the composed mind of the meditator who practices contemplation of the self. That's the translation.
Now, in the 14th sloka, 6th chapter, after the sitting posture is selected, Prashantatma is there, one word. So, this meditation is aimed at the tranquility of the mind. So, that is possible once you follow the procedure of the meditation. So, that is given importance instead of that will be discussed in mind control also today itself, preferably how we can have tranquility during meditation by controlling the mind. The next sloka about the meditation is the 19th sloka already recited. That is, the mind is taken example a flame. Actually, flame has got movement, but when flame, when it is still, deepa, it appears it is not moving. Similarly, mind will have movement, but that movement will not be noticed. So that is the stage of meditation. We say it is a blank mind. There will be internal movement, just like the lamp is there, but this kind of movement will not be noticed. That is the meditation level of meditation. So fire and mind has got a similarity. We discussed in our MMT class. If they are in our control, controlled fire is a useful thing. Controlled mind is a useful thing. But when the fire goes out of control, it is dangerous. Similarly, when the mind also goes out of control, it is danger. So this meditation, pranayama and asanas are for bringing the mind to our control. So next sloka we will see.
यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यम् कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञोदानम् तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणाम्.
Chapter 18, verse 5. An action that is a ritual, charity, or religious discipline is not to be given up. That is indeed to be done. Ritual, charity, and religious discipline are indeed purifying for those who are discriminative. That's the translation.
This is another qualification for going into the pursuit of self-knowledge. Yajna, dana, tapa. That is daily worship. Few minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. God is the most adjusting person in the life. Only we have to give our love. He is ready to accept at any time. No one in the family. So why don't you specify a specific place and specific time, neat and clean surroundings, and you also be neat and clean and spend 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes. The daily worship is a very important thing. It will change your life definitely. I also enjoy praying nowadays. Means after the losing eyesight, whatever the way possible, I also have a specific time of morning and evening prayer. So that is one of the discipline. Then contribution. So when it comes to contribution, it is a systematic teaching is there in our scriptures. So we usually, I should not tell, but we tell only other religions have got the contribution and sacrifice and service. We don't have. No, it is not correct. It is there in our scriptures. We have not studied our scriptures and complaining like this. It is so nicely mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, Yajna Dana. Dana means what? That is contribution. So here it is mentioned that correct time, correct place, and deserving people we have to donate. This we can find out. Deserving people, and it is not that impossible to find out. It's possible, and contribution is a must. So contribution, it is clearly prescribed in our scriptures. Panja Mahayajna, the 5 great sacrifices. It is not very difficult and everything. I will tell, it's better to recollect. Religious contributions, contribution to temples and God related things. Then contribution to scriptures. What we are doing is that all. That's all. You need not go to any kind of ashram, and it's not a must. You can go, but when we spend 1 hour in a week, this one, and tomorrow's also discussion, this is sufficient. Should be regular in our life. That's all. This is the contributory activities to the scriptures. Third is contribution to the parents, elders. It can be as per the varnashrama, as per your religion. What is prescribed means subsect. We have to do tarpana, shraddha means we have to do it. Social service is different. That we can do it. That is there in another Panchamaha. We are discussing third one. When the parents are there, elders are there, take care. After that, whatever is prescribed by Shastras to your Varnashrama, you have to do it. Remembering the grandfather, great-grandfather, father like that, mother. So that is contribution to the elders and family. Then contribution to co-human being, Manusha Seva. That's what social service comes. It is also advocated in one of the Panchamaha Yajna. Then finally, contribution to plants and animals. These five contributions are prescribed in our Vedas and Vedanta and even Bhagavad Gita. So this is also a preparatory requirement for going into the pursuit. Now we will discuss the next sloka.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Chapter 4, verse 34. Understand that which is to be known by prostrating the wise, by asking proper questions, and by serving them. Those wise persons who have the vision of the truth will teach you this knowledge. That's the translation.
This is an important sloka. 4th chapter, 34th sloka.
Chapter 4.
So now, this is can connect to sloka number 7 of 2nd chapter. Karpanya dosha bhagat svabhava. So there also surrender, here also surrender. There Arjuna is surrendering to Lord Krishna. Here it is told that a real sincere seeker has to surrender to the teacher. By way of what? Not by way of catching the legs and everything. That people do, it's okay, but that is not required. It is told that reverence. Reverence to the teaching and reverence to the teacher. And also Shraddha in the teaching and Shraddha in the teaching, and also priority, interest, whatever we are telling in the eligibility thing, giving due importance to that. Then it is told that service also. So service means what? Now even our own students are coming forward one after another for helping me. So this is I am also feeling so happy that my life is useful to you all. So this kind of help, computer help, yesterday Shweta, Vijay, they have offered. So other people also are offering. That Vivek is already started in March itself. From that time he is the whole soul in charge, and my family also, daughter and wife. Now also daughter is there in place of my wife. So this is all service. What other things teacher requires. So this is an important thing told here. A sloka from Mundaka Upanishad of Atharva Veda. It is combining two things. Mundaka Upanishad. Parishya logan karmachidan brahmano nirvedamayat nastya kritakridena tad vijnanartam guruve mavikachet samitpanhi srotriyam brahmanishta. Here, two things are combined. We already discussed how the materialistic life is misleading and people get lost to it. This sloka is telling by experience and by experience. It is told Parishya Karma Chitan, that is getting left and right by again being born and dying. In between, so many problems. With that only a person understands the struggle of life. So why we should have so many births in this? Why can't this be the last birth and enjoy till the last breathing and breathe, and from the next birth there is no birth from hereafter. That is the goal of life. Till last breathing we will be happy and we will be useful to others also. That is possible. That is also there in this Mundaka Upanishad Vakya, and also reference to the Guru, reference to the teaching and service. These both things are there in this other Veda, Upanishad Vakya, which is important here, I have told you. And then here one more point is there. When the teacher has learned this knowledge from his teacher following the traditional method, and when the teacher understood the matter, that teacher is the best teacher. This you can find out. I don't want to tell some hurting words. From your general knowledge, you can find out if a person gets the benefit and enjoying with this teaching or not. And second thing, when it is systematic and when the teachings are having reference to the Upanishads, that is the method to be taught. Not only experience. And without referring to Upanishads, only science and logic can reach you to a stage, threshold. It cannot reveal the final thing, because science and logic cannot reach the Atma. That we will see what is science and logic when it comes to that kind of thing, because science depends upon the consciousness. So science cannot prove consciousness. It can support this subject, but when the teacher is referring to Upanishads Veda, we already told you, that is the instrument of knowledge. Vedas, Vedanta. Vedanta is part of Veda, scriptures. It is a separate instrument of knowledge, like our direct perception of 5 perception, it is 6th perception. So that status you give and follow the teaching, but correct time, correct question you have to ask. That is also there. In this sloka it is there. The correct time, correct question to be asked to make the understanding a conviction. Then after conviction, that is Nididhyasana, that is discussed in the last few sessions of our Vedanta class. That is contemplation. So, but correct time, correct questions to be asked to clear the doubts, so that logical conviction will be there. That's also there in this sloka. So this sloka is very important. So next sloka will go.
Verse 34. Understand that which is to be known by prostrating the wise, by asking proper questions, and by serving them. Those wise persons who have the vision of the truth will teach you this knowledge. That's the translation.
So this translation we have discussed. One point is there. In this context, one Kathopanishad mantra also there. Ananya prokte agadiratra nasti. That is what Shrotriya Brahmanishta is referred. A person who has understood this knowledge using the traditional method, and the person who is enjoying the benefit. If you are lucky enough, you will get the teacher, catch hold of the person and get this knowledge. And if that person teaches you, the person with both the qualification, there is no way that you cannot get this knowledge. That's what this Kathopanishad mantra is telling. Okay. So now we will go to the next sloka.
Jnanam vijnanamastikyam brahma karma svabhavajam nahi kasyit kshanamapi.
So this 18th chapter, one sloka was told, but I don't know meaning. My wife's recording did not come. I don't know what is the matter. It is about the Brahma Karma Svabhavajam. 18th chapter, 42nd sloka. That is, those who are advanced students, they may know Shamadhi Shatka Sambatti. It comes under the preparatory requirements. That is Sadhana Chadushtayam. Out of that, Shamadhi Shatka Sambatti, along with that other aspects also. So that is discussed in the 18th chapter, 42nd sloka. So there, one or two points are there, I will tell you. That is Shama, Dama, then Saucham, cleanliness, mental cleanliness and physical cleanliness, all these things, mind control, sense control. Then Arjava means the straightforwardness. That is, we usually tell thoughts, words and deeds to be in straight line. So we have also discussed this in our class. That is, I always tell to be more pure and get more refinement. We have to refine our words as per our actions, because our actions are already bound by law. And moreover that whatever we are sharing here, we are all matured people and interested in Vedanta. Our actions will be almost 75-80% okay. We are not doing any kind of other activities. So our actions are okay. But what happens? We sometimes hurt people with our words. When I cannot hurt by actions, I should refine my speech also. This is spiritual interpretation of thoughts, words and deeds. Because our actions are bound by law, dharmic actions. Sometimes we deviate in our speech. Oh no, I should restrict my speech and I should refine my speech. I should purify my speech. And for your information, this speech discipline, body discipline and mind discipline, there are 3 slokas. I am planning every Saturday, but it's not happening. It will come in the 17th chapter. We will discuss there. So the speech should be refined as per the actions. Then at the final level, our thinking also should be pure. That is very difficult, but that is the final level of purification of mind. That also can happen with Arjava. And then Astikya Buddhi, that is also discussed here. Astikya Buddhi means the person who is having that kind of faith, trust in Vedas. That is, it is the 6th pramana of instrument of knowledge. That kind of Astikya Buddhi, that kind of mindset is conducive to this knowledge. This is the essence of this slogan. Yeah. Next one.
जाततिष्ठत्य कर्म कृत कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्म सर्वप्रकृतिजय गुणैः.
Chapter 3, verse 5. Indeed, no one remains for even a second without performing action, because everyone is forced to perform action by the 3 gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, born of Prakriti. That's the translation.
Yeah.
This sloga was the turning point sloga in my life. It happened, it's a good thing to recollect and share with you. It happened before 2005, either 2004 or 2005. I was in Kerala taking care of some treatment. So there Bhagavad Gita I was listening with the meaning, brief meaning. So this sloga was there in the audio. So it tells all the parts of our body and functions of our body mind, they are helplessly doing various kind of actions. Means nahi kaschit chanamapi jadatishthatya karmakrit karide hevasha karma sarva prakriti jarigunai. This is because of the 3 modes of nature. So this struck me. I have almost lost 98% of eyesight, and the balance also is going. So now, if I don't take any strong measures understood from teachings like Bhagavad Gita, my life also will be in one corner, sitting and listening to some music. Because the total, the window to the external world is getting shut, eyesight, 50% handicap. Because for most of other senses also, eyesight is required, either for going to bathroom, taking bath, even eating also, for every activity, for satisfying or for meeting the requirement of others, all four senses, eyesight is required. So that is why eyesight is given 50% of weightage. In international law also, the blind person gets maximum concession in as per the law also, as per medical also. So when I was in that dilemma, this sloga gave me a hand. What it tells, all the parts and functions of the body helplessly go on doing activities, actions. So you may think that during meditation no action. No. How? Breathing is happening, heart is beating, and every few hours we are getting hungry, so digestive system is happening, but blood circulation during sleep. So that kind of things are there. So this sloga tells that various senses and other things, they do activities helplessly. So here what I did, instead of allowing the ear, what the ear want to hear, I will be the driving force and I will listen what I want to listen. I said, don't leave it. Then instead of the mouth eating what the taste wants, I will be the driving force within me and tell the mouth and taste bud what is good to eat for you, I will eat. Similarly, instead of going using the legs wherever I want to go, or I will repent I am not able to go, where you want to go, ask the leg to go. It was in Koothatukulam, Piravam. I think one Malayali is there. So when my daughter was, how many years before, you can understand? 17 years before, 2003 or 4. So we went to Piravam, and I got hold of the Gita Research Center people and got one more work, Gita Mahatmyam. We will be discussing once the introduction matters are becoming less. I plan today with my wife. Gita Mahatmyam is a work. It's actually a scripture. It is in Varaga Purana. There Mahatmyam, the glory of Gita, is discussed. So there we went and troubled those inmates of that Gita Research Foundation and got some points and meanings of Gita Mahatmyam. So I told my legs or what? Intention. Where to go? I should go. With hands, I will be the driving force and tell the hands what is to be done. Otherwise, hand will do something, it will go somewhere, mouth will eat whatever it wants, and ear will hear whatever it wants, and we will lose the track. So this sloga gave me a turning point around 17 years before in 2003. It's a very beautiful sloga. It comes in Karma Yoga, 3rd chapter, 5th sloga. This much is sufficient. Then we will go to the next sloga.
yato nischarati manaschanchalamasstiram tatastato niyamyetat atmanyeva vasham nayet.
Chapter 6, verse 26. For whatever reason, the unsteady mind, always in a state of flux, goes away, bringing it back from that, with reference to the self alone, may one bring, that is, the mind, into one's own hands. That's the translation.
Now these two slogas are about mind control. It also comes in Dhyana Yoga, the 6th chapter, 26th sloga, Yedo Yedo Nischarati. Then this sloga and combined with the next sloga, but we will I will tell some points about this sloga, then about the next sloga. With that, we may have to stop it. It's a interesting topic and a required topic for normal people also to improve your career and to improve your different aspects of your life. And it is a must for spiritual upliftment, mind control. So some of the points of our mind control presentation you can take, that is okay. But here we will discuss from the point of Bhagavad Gita. Here, Bhagavan is telling, mind is the nature of movement. It will not stop with one thought. The commentary and discussions are there, so that reveals more information and gives importance about this aspect. Suppose if the mind is stuck with one thought, one single thought, what will happen? It is so dangerous. When you do something, when you are driving, if you stuck up with one thought, next minute will be the accident. So mind has to move. The thoughts, that is the nature of the thought, nature of the mind, that it will be moving. It will from one thought to another thought. That is good for us. But we should not allow the mind to go on its own. Again, the previous sloka, like other five senses, mind also to be in our control. So mind's nature is moving mind from thought to thought. So what is told here, for example, you are sitting for meditation, you want to concentrate on one thing, either Om or your Ishta Devata or some sound. Few seconds you will be able to do that. Suddenly somebody may knock the door. Immediately your mind go, what is the purpose of that knock? Then who is knocking? Why that person is coming? Or a simpler thing, some dog will be barking. So your mind will go, why is barking? So these kind of things will happen during meditation. So how to control the mind? Here Bhagavan as well as Adi Shankara's Bhashyam says, let it move. You go deeper into this movement of mind. What makes the mind move? Consciousness. See, you are conscious. That is why you are able to make out the movement of mind. Example is sleep. During sleep you are not conscious. So mind is still. That is not possible when you sit for meditation. You should not sleep also. So make use of the moment and understand this important aspect of the moment. And you focus on the reason behind the moment. That is, you come back to yourself. You come back to consciousness. This trick, if you know, the movement will reduce. The movement will not bother. Let it move. Because the movement is happening because of consciousness, and consciousness is yourself. So this is a very important aspect, very difficult to understand now. We are in the 6th chapter, and that is not only that the sequence we will tell you separately, because in the 2nd chapter itself we were going to the higher teaching, but we are in the preparatory level, 4th class. So once you proceed to 2-3 class more, then we will be able to understand the role of consciousness, role of mind and everything. At the time we will discuss. Here only we have to understand the nature of mind. It is a movement. We should not get agitated because of the mind's movement. So that is discussed in the next sloka also. There, if the time is there, I will share one story, slightly modified so that it can be ended in 5-10 minutes. So the next sloka we will start, then I will tell the story.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Gryhyate.
Chapter 6, verse 35. Sri Bhagavan said, no doubt, Arjuna, the mighty armed, the mind is agitated and difficult to master. But Kaunteya, that is Arjuna, it is mastered by practice and objectivity. That's the translation.
See here, Arjuna is telling that is means I am not able to control my mind. You see, he has come to a long journey because he was totally got lost. Now that lamenting and losing the strength and everything is over. Now he is asking proper questions and everything. But still he is telling in the 6th chapter that he is not able to control the mind. So the discussion, some beautiful discussions were there. That is one or two things I will tell. Then I will try to tell the story and we will end it and we will continue this topic of mind control in the next class also. So in the commentary is told, Arjuna is telling, you see, two ways Bhagavan is addressing Arjuna in this sloka. Two words he is using. One is Mahabaho and another is Kaunteya. Asamsaya Mahabaho, Mano Durnigraham Chalam, Abhyasena to Kaunteya, Vairagiyana Chagrihete. So both words, very few slokas are there. There is two words Bhagavan is addressing Arjuna. It's Arjuna and Lord Krishna Samvada, dialogue. So, you see, Mahabaho. So, Arjuna is capable of chopping hundreds of heads at one time. But he is not able to control his own head. Okay, so this is the contesting one. Then Kaunteya is told that we will discuss in the next class. That is the childishness of the mind. So, mind has to be treated like a child. So there's a story. It was shared by Swami Niranjana Ji. So I will slightly modify it so that we can finish it a little quickly. And it is regarding the mind control. So once there was a king, not nowadays, maybe hundreds of years before. So kings used to have elephants and horses in addition to cows and everything. The cows and everything they give on dana to the Brahmins. Elephants and horses they are used for general purpose as well as for fighting. This king had in his in his possession many horses. There, 4 horses he got, white horses, when they were small. 4 white horses from somewhere or from a foreign country. But when they grew, these 4 white horses were uncontrollable. That the king understood only when the horses were grown. They were not allowing anybody to use them, let alone for fighting purpose, not for normal for this thing also. They were not obeying, not coming for parade, not coming for so many other activities. So these 4 horses were troubling the other people, those who were taking care of the horses, and it was a botheration to king also. Then the king wanted to take a decision. So he announced, whoever tries to control these 4 horses, the person will be given lot of prizes and remuneration. So people started coming because his own people were not able to control. From nearby, this announcement was spread out to different places. What happened? The person, young people, will come to control the horse. Means what? They have to tame the horse and ride on them. But these horses will not allow the person to come near, then around touching. But if the person is so smart, the person may climb the horse, but you know what will happen. The horse will lift and throw the person here and there. So they break their hands, legs, and sometimes head. It was happening, and the time went on, and people were a little scared because going to tame the horse and getting injury, severe injuries, fatal injuries. Nobody was able to control the 4 horses. After some time, one person came and told the king that I will have a trial. So, but he put a condition. The king also was thinking that nobody is able to control these horses, then why can't we agree to his conditions? So he put a condition that the horses should be sent to his place, and also maintenance and everything is a king, no, he will not have any problem for giving thing. And he wanted time. This is the main thing. He wanted time of, the story says 1 year, okay. But others, what happened? They, as soon as they came, they tried to control the horse. And they were getting back what they deserved. But this person was an intelligent person maybe, and he had a plan. He wanted time. So the horses were sent to his place, and also the required amount was passed on. So it was about nearing 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, nearing 1 year. And by the time king thought, okay, this person also may not be successful, what to do? By the time this king was thinking what is to be done, one day his Dwarapalakas, that is gatekeepers, king's gatekeepers told, the person who came last year with 4 horses has come back with the 4 horses behind him, or he was coming with the horses. The king was very happy. Then he told the gatekeepers to allow him with the horses, and he paraded the horses so neatly. He was sitting on one horse, and all the 3 horses were following, like our aircraft. This thing, no? So many things they do on some days. Display. He was displaying so many things, and all the people of King's Darbar and king was surprised. Though taken time, how he controlled. Then the king asked the person his strategy, how he controlled the horses. After giving the demonstration and everything, the person told how he started, how he planned, how he started the controlling program. He decided these horses are not like other horses, so that's why king has given this kind of prizes and everything as announced. So he has already come with the thing and the information that it has the horses have given so many problems to so many people, those who have come and tried to ride the horses by jumping on them. So he told 1 year required. So he had these horses in his place, and he shifted his stay also along with the horse. And slowly he noticed among these 4 horses, within themselves, these 4 horses, the 3 horses were following 1 horse. That was another thing this person noticed. So this person, being intelligent, decided instead of controlling or taming all the 4 horses together, why can't I have more focus on this horse, being friendly to all the 4 horses. He should not obviously show that he is favoring 1 horse, but his plan was focused on this 1 horse, because he has noticed other 3 horses were following this horse in so many aspects. He decided this aspect, and he started living with them. When the horses were moving, he was moving. When the horses were resting, he was resting. When the horses were eating, he was eating. When the horses were sleeping, he was sleeping. So the horses became friendly, and he started his plan of taming this horse. Slowly touched the horse. It was not initially agreeing, but afterwards the horse agreed. Then the other horse also agreed. He was massaging, he was cleaning, it was enjoying. Then slowly that horse things are there, no, to put on the back. So that he put. If initially he did not allow, but when this horse allowed, other horses allowed. So he was riding. So he took time and with a strategy. This he explained to the king. So he spotted 1 leading horse and other 3 horses by being friendly to all the 4 horses and focusing on his plan to tame the 1 horse. The all other three also agree. So this story is revealing about the four functions of the mind. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. Ahankara is the notion. That is the main thing, ego. So when your attention is on the ego and try to tame it, try to enlighten it, the enlightened ego will use all the three functions of the mind properly. Mana is emotional, Buddhi is intellect, Chitta is memory. But once this ego, the Ahankara, the self-referral, the notion, I notion, me notion, my notion, doer, knower and enjoyer. This notion center. If this center is rectified, all other things will be, all other functional classifications will come into useful. So this is the example he gave. 4 horses, 1 horse is Ahankara, 3 horses control. Similarly, here also we will be focusing on the Ahankara, which is the ego. We will do in further classes more preparation and analyze what is this ego. This is Jiva. Then we will slowly go to the subject of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. This is the triangular format. This is the starting point of the teaching. Let us see, one more class may be required for preparation or 2 classes. Then we will start the teaching, the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara to Atmanatma. That way we will proceed. And it is, I think, nearing time. We will end with the prayer Purnamada. Then we will have anything. Questions may not be there because this is Bhagavad Gita. No? Here logical and science is not coming. And you can tell about this changes in the pattern of teaching. And we will improve it. And our Sweda Vijay is also helping for circulating. Or circulating, or rather it's putting in the website the backup matter of each classes. Second class, third class will be uploaded and link will be given by my daughter and Vivek and it will be available. And we will proceed with fourth class is over means before the 5th class we will try to put this also in the website and giving links. So Manasa is also offered. So we will end the session and then any comments or questions also you can ask. We will end it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Guru Namaha. Harihi Om.